Okay, I completed this part of the skirt. It's that 2-ply, 2-piece carpeting. Very rigid now. I put this Gorilla Tape on it, used heat, and went ahead and applied it. It's the extra sticky version of the Gorilla Tape, so it's very rigid now. This is the exterior then trim piece, so I'll cut that. I'm going to go over to the motorhome and do one more fit check on this. Very close to finishing this up. I'll be putting some tile on here. Then that will be a 1-piece doghouse cover. Okay, so here's another fit check over here. Here's the sound meter laying on the doghouse without any insulation or covering at all. This is the sound level at idle, around 750 RPM. I'll accelerate to 1500 RPM now. I'll accelerate to 2000 RPM now. I'll accelerate a quick rev to 2500. Now, 2500. And a bump up to 3 grand. Another bump up to 3 grand. That concludes the sound level without any insulation or floor treatment to the doghouse area. Okay, we're going to do a test of the thermal image in the stock configuration for the driver area. In this image, cool would be the very lightest colors. To the left in this image you will see the wall not exposed to any heat. The window there is overcast. There is some heat coming through, but for the most part it's cool. So heat would be dark blue. You can see where the heat load is coming. You get heat load around the exterior of the doghouse. Again, it's cooler in the floor area there, although there's some temperature differential there. That's where the heat load is. So it's going to be cooler down there by the driver foot area. That's the doghouse. This is the heat load at idle. Okay, this just about wraps up this project for the thermal and sound deadening and tile floor front drive area of this Fleetwood. This would be just about applicable to any F53 Ford chassis Class A motorhome. Now I'm just about finished here, but I'm going to wrap up this video. I've got this angle here trim piece. I just got it taped up there. I don't have the right, I need to pre-drill and put some screws in there to hold that in. But as far as the tile, this boot, I have a little piece here I need to fit in there, but for the most part, it's done. And I think it came out fantastic. I have just enough give here in the sidewall for that gas pedal. And I've got to put some ending plates. Maybe I may just screw right down to the subfloor of the motorhome. It's a particle board under there. But this pretty much concludes. I'll put my little center console back in this area, and I'll be done. Now I'll go ahead and do a thermal and a decibel sound level meter. So we'll go ahead and do that. This is the sound level at idle. Going up to 1500 RPM. Going up to 2000 RPM. Going up to 2500 RPM. 3. Okay, so this is the thermal application on my phone. As you can see there, I'm pointed towards the window where there's some sunlight coming through, and then off to the left is the sidewall of the RV. It's a little cooler. So it gives you a feel for the heat and cool temperature gradients in this thermal imaging. So with that as an opening here on what I'm looking at, if I'm looking down there by the floorboard area, it's cool because there's no direct sunlight hitting that area. There is on the seat. And as I come down to the doghouse, where essentially is the heat source, you can see there's a difference in surface temperatures for the top of the doghouse cover and then the side curtains. So in analyzing this, just off the top of my head, you have some sunlight coming in on that surface, tile surface, and then you have the carpet. Both areas having that thermal sound deadening insulation material, as well as all over the floor. So it's interesting. I'll tell you, the feel here is that it is much cooler. I'm not feeling any heat coming from that front area at all. And that's just a general feeling, which is what I'm trying to address. So I think from that perspective, gives you a feel for the various temperature gradients throughout the driver area. And again, it varies depending on sunlight coming in, and especially on these applications. I'm not going to do a temperature check here and there. It all depends on the ambient air outdoors and whether I got the heat going on in here. I did have the heater on earlier, so that may have affected somewhat heat absorption just inside prior to starting into this reading here. So anyway, that's the thermal signature. What I did was cut me some wood here, wood trim, covered it in carpeting, just put some drywall screws down. And that curtain fits really well. It took a little bit of work to come up with the right fitting. It's very tight. There's two thicknesses of carpet underneath this finished indoor-outdoor. And then there's the thermal barrier, sound deadening underneath there, as well as sound deadening thermal underneath the whole floor area. So I'm satisfied with the finish. The tile came pretty close to matching that. Other than this is at a 45 with the grout line. This is just simply put on there the easiest possible way, but I think it matches pretty well. It's a little different with the head on light here, but Without the light, it's pretty close. But it's easy to just sit in here. You can step on this. And I do have a little piece there I need to finish. And I just screwed the floor down. As I mentioned, I need to do a final install on that trim piece. I'll say to the ear, it's a lot quieter here idling than what it was before. You may not even be able to hear it during this video. Okay, wrapping this up, I think I achieved my goals. My priority 1 was tile floor. Priority 2 was heat control. I've achieved that, both of those 2. Sound, I think I've achieved it. I got to do an analysis on the sound ratings, and I believe there's at least 1 decibel levels, depending on the RPMs, at idle. Again, this isn't on the highway, so you're gonna have wind noise, you're gonna have other road noise, tire perhaps, but I think a lot of that's going to be deadened by the fact that you have this thickness on top of the front end area here. Plus, I think I've got about, maybe 50, 75 pounds, I'll say, with the tile and the particle board. I got about 75 extra pounds of weight up front, which will give me a smoother ride. I travel very light. So I think that this has achieved, this project has achieved my goals. It's well worth it. Parts of it, I would say most do-it-yourselfers could do it. I have a lot of experience in MacGyvering stuff together. This curtain here, skirt, was the most difficult part to make it come out looking good. Finish work is always the hardest, but I'm happy, and hopefully this is a project you can tackle based on the results. Thanks for watching. Happy trail.